All right, guys, we are at record low volatility for 2019. It is making it a little harder to find some moves, but we think there might be an opportunity here on the CAD. And of course, the Fed is not going to be raising rates for the rest of 2019. Let's do a quick deep dive on the CAD and a little bit of a synopsis on the dollar on what's going to happen with the Fed. And let's see where we're at. All right, let's roll the intro. All right, traders, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Top Trader channel. It's your head trader here, Cleveland Bishop. We're in the Top Trader office. U.S. session actually just got started, 9:30, and we haven't seen too much volatility. We actually haven't seen too much volatility all throughout 2019, and this is definitely one of the biggest reasons why we haven't been able to see too much of an active trade regime happening, right? So usually in fall or maybe even in winter time earlier this year, we were able to get spring also, we were able to see probably about 3 or 4 different moves that we were really interested in, to the extent where we were actually putting positions on a week. So 3 or 4 different positions a week, swing positions a week. And right now we're seeing maybe 1 or 2, right? If that. So we do have some ideas, and we do have right now a position that we are taking a look at. And I want you guys to check that out. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. That's the CAD CHF, right? But before we get into those details, I do want to do a last week recap. All right. So look, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe. Welcome. We talk a lot more about fundamentals than, I guess, any other channel here on YouTube. And it's mostly because we think that it takes the understanding of intrinsic value, understanding why the asset is priced where it's at, all right, to be able to derive price, right? So an example I always like to use is, let's say you're going to a yard sale and there's some old lady selling you a piece of art for $100, and then me and you are looking like, wait, that's a Picasso, that's worth $100,000. Well, right there, we only knew that because we had an understanding of intrinsic value. We knew what the asset was priced at because we understood the fundamentals. Okay, so the more you understand fundamentals, the more you'll understand price, and the more you understand how price is reflected, giving you the ability to catch moves at a much higher clip, right? So again, that's why we trade fundamentals. If you guys are interested in that, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the video. Last week, I want to do a quick recap on that. We had a strongest pair, we had a weakest pair. All right, and that's how we like to summarize things on, like, where was our strength, where was our weaknesses in markets, and could we see those trends potentially continue? So if I go into the charts here, you guys will notice the weakest pair we had last week was actually the dollar, right? And so last week we mentioned that we may see a short-term dollar buy, and we did. It was short. If you guys can notice that was this particular up move here, but then it actually stopped, and then it became, out of nowhere, the weakest pair of the week. So day after day, we saw more and more sell side, and we think that that has to do with more conversations about where the Fed was going to be taking rates. So right now, when it comes to the Fed rate cut, that's definitely going to be happening. We're going to be cutting rates more than likely here in July, and we're not going to be raising rates all throughout 2019. Even when it comes to 2020, they're expecting only a 25 basis point raise. All right, before we were expecting all these different rate raises throughout 2017, throughout 2016. The economy's growing so fast. Oh my goodness, we need to slow it down a bit, right? We need to start to pump the brakes and start to raise the amount of cost when it comes to getting capital, getting loans. All right, that's what these costs are mostly about, making it more expensive to actually get US dollar money, which is, again, hopefully you want that to start to stir the dollar and bring it to the upside. Well, right now, Powell is definitely going to pull back on that idea. Again, I mentioned he's not going to raise in 2019, and you're going to have the rate raise in 2020. And we think that that's why, just that news, that jawboning, was one of the main reasons why we saw the dollar start to sell off here in the last few days or so. Okay, so could that mean we could see even more dollar sell side? Potentially. You know, we think that could be the case. If I go here to the weekly, and I'll show you guys what that's looking like. Last week I did do a quick recap overall on the dollar, so you guys may want to check that out, where I talked about the entire past 3-year trajectory as to why the dollar is where it's at. But if you look at it right now, you guys will notice from the lows here to the high, right, we are still holding some serious highs from these 2018 Q2 levels. Right, so if this dollar does have the opportunity to pull back a bit, again, this was when all these rates were being risen. This is CPI numbers coming out that are extremely positive. This is our unemployment rate finally hitting 3.6%. There's a lot of positive stuff that's factored into this up move. And so for us to pull back on that would mean that maybe this economy isn't so ready, right, to have rates risen to the extent to where we are right now. And of course, that could mean we would pull back from this 23.6 area, and we will retrace down maybe to that 50, maybe to that 61.8% fib on this weekly level here. So we're not expecting a 50% retracement, but we could definitely see markets pull back towards that 38.2. And that's not even a massive move. We're not even asking for so much for that. So again, most people are basically saying that they want that dollar to the upside, but I'm just trying to figure out how would that be possible if we're now lessening the idea of these rates being risen. And then not only that, so many things happening with the idea of the calamity happening with the trade war. It would be pretty hard to see this dollar higher than where it's at, but we will see. All right, we will see. Now, outside of that, the strongest pair last week was the NZD. Kind of comes as a surprise a bit, all right? If I show you guys what that's looking like on the daily time frame, you will see a pretty dramatic price move to the upside. Nothing too substantial, right? We were consolidating for a bit, and again, markets were fairly calm last week, and you can see that even just this one little push to the upside quantified the NZD as the strongest moving currency, right? So that's how you know we don't have any kind of record volatility that we were having earlier this year. Okay, so yes, NZD back to the upside here. Jarrell, one of our top traders of the week, actually, he was able to capitalize on an NZD sell side move, right? And so we're really happy about him. We're gonna be doing an interview with Jarrell, by the way, inside of the Top Trader Academy. So if you guys aren't in the Academy, interested in joining and all of that, make sure you guys click the link in the bio. It's right there, okay? But he was able to capitalize on the NZDUSD sell side move, this initial push down into structure here, and as we can see, that move was very short-lived, right? And so we ended up pushing back out, and now we're consolidating at these lows, but we did end up breaking this previous high that was made back in early July. So NZD, what's going on in that what factored into that up move? We think it again has to deal a lot with the trade wars. There's certain developments and just again more jawboning that's been happening where people are saying, hey, maybe there could be more of a positive outcome when it comes to this trade war, and maybe Xi Jinping and Trump can maybe get together and try to rationalize some type of agreement. Those conversations, though minuscule, did affect the NZD last week, and that's why we saw that slight up move. How do we know that that's the case? Well, we also saw an up move here on the Aussie dollar, slight, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 days of up move here on the Aussie. 1, 2, 3, 4 days of up move there on the NZD. So usually when those two pairs are correlated like that, you know it wasn't NZD economic news, right? Because if it was isolated to that NZD currency, then you wouldn't see it affected on the Aussie. But we did. So we know that had to do with something globally happening, right? So moving on a bit, all right? Wanted to touch on real quick also what we're looking at for the CAD, all right? And so the CAD for us is one of those pairs where it's like, okay, everything's been quiet. There hasn't really been anything trending in any capacity at all. You guys can take a look for yourselves, right? But when it comes to the CAD's been a little bit different, all right? And so if you guys take a look here, you'll notice that this CAD since, let's say, May 30th, right, has been on an absolute tirade to the upside. And so this is why we think that there might be an opportunity now that we may see, since we're seeing our first pause, right, since we're seeing our first slowdown of this specific currency, we may see an opportunity to catch some pullbacks here on the Canadian dollar, right? So where will we play that though? We would obviously want to be playing that with a pair that we think could obviously increase in strength over the next few weeks, over the next few days or so. And that's why Kyler's been having the idea that, hey, maybe we can play that with the CHF, right? And so CAD CHF here has been a pair that maybe there's some type of opportunity to take something sell side that looks pretty interesting, all right? And so when could this potentially play out? It's a daily chart, right? And so since it is a daily chart, we would expect it may take days for this to play out. It might not be something that can happen this week, but it's definitely something that we are paying attention to. Now, when it comes to the Canadian fundamentals, I do want to do a deep dive on Canadian fundamentals maybe later this week, not tomorrow. We're going to do a trader tips tomorrow, but maybe on Wednesday we can go a little bit deeper into what's going on with the CAD and why it did push to the extent that it has, which is again the most trending pair of all 2019 Q2, and now we're moving over to Q3, and again it's still the most trending pair. So all that being said, let's keep an eye out on what's happening here on this CAD CHF. That's definitely the highlighted pair that we really want to pay attention to. Congratulations, Jarrell, again on the top trader of the week. And when it comes to the dollar, if they end up cutting rates, which they really should, we're over a 90% likelihood that they will cut rates, then we may start to see that dollar opportunity fizzle away. All right, this dollar buy side opportunity may start to dry up, and that might bring more opportunity as well. All right, so look, if you guys have any questions for us, make sure you guys post down in the comments below. If you're interested in joining the Top Trader Academy, get in the bio. Also, just schedule a call. We'll be right there to reach out for you. All right, we'll talk to you guys later on this week. Safe trading, folks. Peace out.